Imagine the North Pacific Ocean on the 19th of March, 1945, a night when the sky itself seemed to roar. Picture the storm clouds boiling overhead as Second Lieutenant Robert Shropshshire of the 440th Operations Group cuts through the darkness in his P-38 Lightning, tail number 44243 Zorsch. At 20,000 feet, with the wind hammering his canopy, he led a tight formation of 10 Lightnings, all of them exhausted after a punishing 2,000-mile long-range mission. Their task? To prepare for the possibility of confronting the dreaded Me-264 America bomber, a Luftwaffe marvel designed to strike deep into the United States. And so the P-38, famous for its superb high-altitude performance, had been chosen for this grueling assignment. Dear friends, if this video has reached you, it's not by chance. Right now, click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Write a number from 1 to 5 in the comments. I will personally respond to the first 50 comments, and make sure to watch the video until the end. Now, barely an hour from reaching the Santa Maria Air Base in California, the returning flight met a wall of thunderstorms rolling in from the west. Shropshshire, reading the violent weather ahead, ordered the formation upward, trying to claw their way through the choking clouds. At his right side, never more than 50 meters away, flew Lieutenant Wallace Smith, his trusted wingman since the days of flight school, piloting his own P-38 Lightning, tail number 439. The two men were more than comrades. They were inseparable. Then came the turbulence, sudden, merciless, like the fist of a giant striking the formation. Visibility collapsed to almost nothing. Radio waves erupted with frantic chatter as each pilot fought to hold position in the blinding murk. "Wallace, I've lost sight of you," Shropshshire called out. The words had barely left his lips when something flashed, a streak of silver bursting from the clouds above. Before he could roll clear, Smith's P-38 dropped straight down on top of him. The collision was so violent that it felt like the sky itself cracked open. Shropshire's canopy split. The propellers chewed through the leading edges of both aircraft, severing radio lines and mangling metal. Other pilots later confirmed they had watched the two Lightnings lock together and begin spiraling downward into the ink-black void below. Moments like that force us to confront how swiftly everything can unravel. It's not unlike a moment I faced years ago, trying to balance work, studies, and the heavy responsibility of caring for a struggling family member. I kept insisting I could manage alone until I couldn't. Isn't that the way life corners us? Just as these pilots wrestled against forces far larger than themselves, so too do we sometimes need help beyond our own strength. Which leads me to our partnership with BetterHelp. Their mission is simple: make beginning therapy less intimidating. They connect you with a credentialed therapist who listens, understands, and offers grounded, unbiased guidance. With just a short questionnaire, you're matched quickly. And if the match isn't right, you can switch therapists anytime without extra cost. Having someone outside your usual circle to talk to has meant a great deal to me. And if you've ever considered therapy, or simply wanted to understand yourself better, you can receive 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/FlackAlley. Fortunately for Shropshshire, his P-38 carried a backup antenna under the fuselage. Despite the shredded lines, his desperate signals still reached the rest of the formation. "I've been hit hard," he shouted. "My canopy's shattered, and my controls aren't responding." Then came Smith's voice, strained, raw. "I'm hit in the chest." Neither man yet understood what nightmare they had fallen into. Moments later, the clouds thinned, and Shropshshire finally saw the impossible truth. They were still locked together. Through the fractured canopy, he could see an entire P-38 welded atop his own. The aluminum wings had fused at the main spars and tail, tangled by the brutal collision. With no other options, he radioed Smith, urging him to deploy the dive recovery flaps, a special feature on the later P-38J and L models. Miraculously, the violent shaking began to subside. Some control returned. There they were, 2 men, still alive, trapped inside intertwined airframes, fighting side by side against a spinning death spiral. Drawing on every ounce of will, Shropshshire wrestled the combined mass of both Lightnings back into level flight. He called out to his wingman again. Only silence, then a faint, ghostly click. Proof that Smith was conscious, listening, but unable to speak. They had fallen to 8,000 feet, heading 90 degrees. Time was bleeding away. Gently, Shropshshire guided the crippled pair toward the distant California coastline. The remaining P-38s formed up around them, staring in disbelief as they assessed the damage and relayed the astonishing report to command. Orders came swiftly. Both pilots must bail out immediately. But Shropshshire knew the truth. Smith, wounded in the chest, could not possibly escape his cockpit. And if Shropshshire abandoned the aircraft, his friend would perish for certain. He could have saved himself. He chose not to. Defying direct orders, he stayed in the saddle, refusing to leave his wingman alone in the doomed aircraft. With only one engine still producing full power, the pair limped along at 160 mph, just above the 120 km/h stall speed, barely enough to keep them aloft, but perhaps enough to reach land. At 4,000 feet, just 20 minutes from home, another storm front materialized ahead like a final barrier. For the last time, Shropshishire's voice crackled across the radio. "My cooling system is failing. Fuel pressure on the left is dropping." Seconds later, the twin Lightnings rolled softly to the left and vanished into the black Pacific. When the storms cleared, Navy search crews discovered wreckage drifting near Santa Maria. Only one parachute had opened. A hometown paper would later write, "The body of Lieutenant Robert Shropshshire, who lost his life in an accident after an aerial collision, has been recovered from the sea near Santa Maria, California." His remains were returned to Nocona, Texas, where he was laid to rest with full military honors. Even as the aircraft plunged helplessly toward the ocean, Lieutenant Robert Shropshshire refused to abandon his wounded wingman. Faced with an impossible fate, he chose loyalty over orders, remaining by his friend's side until the very end. In those final moments, he represented the very essence of the greatest generation. Only 4% of viewers watching this video are subscribed. It takes weeks and countless hours to research and create these stories. Yet it takes only a second for you to click that subscribe button. It's completely free, but it helps us continue bringing this content to you. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.